What's going on, guys? I'm not going to talk that much in this intro. This is just me doing a VOD review of Jalen, who is playing Belvev. In this game, we're going to quickly go through like the moves he makes in the early game. And yeah, this is actually Challenger Jungle coaching, so I'd highly recommend watching the whole video and you can improve like divisions, tiers, etc. Anyway, yeah, let's get into it. Jalen on Belvev is going to start at red buff this game. Why is he starting red buff? Look at the enemy jungler for me. It's Dark Harvest Kayn. Now, Belvev is not a champion really until level 3. You could late invade with Conqueror, of course. Like top side, you can late invade here. Potentially even bot side, right? You could potentially late invade. But that's not going to happen in like 99% of games. And it's not that important right now. Like, teaching Ashley how to jungle and read the map and think like a challenger is the most important thing. So Jalen's starting red buff because at level 3, we hard beat the enemy jungler. Even if you just beat the enemy jungler at level 3, guys, with red buff, you should consider starting there and invading them. Now, if they start blue buff, that's even better for you, right? If you're the weaker jungler like Kayn, you should know that Belvev at level 3 can do something to you. That's why you have to start at your red buff. You don't want to get your first red buff at 7 minutes, and you also don't want to fight the Belvev potentially with just your blue buff because it doesn't do anything. Now, there are certain champions like Karthus and Hecarim who can actually clear red buff before some champions even can do this. So Red Krugs Raptors into this. Some champions actually clear their red buff before that champion comes in here. Now, I don't know. I need to do some tech on this. Like if red, walls, blue gets you there, because walls now gives you enough experience for level 3 after like walls and blue, right? You'll be level 3. Maybe you get here like 10 seconds, 5 seconds quicker. It's really important to actually know that stuff. But for the most part, again, we don't have to worry about that just yet. It's more about teaching like what's important for actually jungling that's going to happen in most games, right? So Jalen's starting red buff here. Now, after red buff, we know that Kayn starts at blue buff because Ornn shows top lane in the enemy bot lane here. Well, it's actually funny because in this game, when I saw bot, like I told Jalen to look bot, and Caitlyn is full mana, so is Milio here, and it actually looked like Caitlyn tried to stay back out of vision, then she moved forward on vision and back again. So I actually thought that Kayn started top side here because it was kind of weird like how they moved and they haven't used mana. So it's actually like kind of safe to assume that Kayn has started up here. So the first point here is just to track the enemy jungler at level 1, so you probably know what their path is going to be for the next even like 5-6 minutes in a game. Like I'm going to show you here. Well, maybe not this game because Jalen absolutely pumps this Kayn. But in most games, guys, like history is just going to repeat itself. They'll just full clear on repeat, bot to top to bot, vice versa. So Jalen's going to end up going bot side here. Now, the only annoying thing about doing this at this time is that like around 220, 225 after you finish Raptors and hit 3, is that mid lane, the second wave is going to die. So if the enemy mid laner has Prio, like this Syndra, she can always come ward, right? Because the wave has like dissipated the second wave. So at around 225, 230 is a mid lane ward timer. And most of the time they're going to ward over Raptors. Good mid laners will anyway, like with their maybe like brain switched on. So it might not happen in, you know, most games again. But it's still like important to note because maybe this Syndra is a smurf or some shit. Because if we can cover that, then we should be able to cover everything else. So Jalen here, after he finishes Raptors, he knows that the bot lane is kind of pushing here because I told him to look. You can see that Caitlyn and Milio both have access to this wave, and Caitlyn's going to hit level 2 off that melee minion, and this is when he looked bot lane here, and you can probably just safely assume that Caitlyn and Milio are going to have priority, which they actually do at this point. So hitting bot lane at level 3 is definitely doable. Also remember, we are against a Dark Harvest Kayn, so we always have to factor in the enemy jungler when we gank lanes. Is this going to be a 3v2? Because they're definitely killable if Belvev was here at this moment in time, right? And I still think this fight will last long enough for Belvev to actually get here, but then the question is, well, that's the same for the enemy jungler as well, if they're playing the game like we are. So if it's a 3v3, are we still going to win? Conqueror Belvev is definitely going to win out against the Dark Harvest Kayn. So Belvev here can probably gank like any lane and not really give a you-know-what. Now, unfortunately here, Syndra actually did have a ward down here at level 1, so maybe, guys, this is like a nice thing to think about. If you're a level 3 red buff jungler, maybe put a ward down here to know if the enemy mid laner warded. I used to do this all the time on Shaco. I'd actually run out of base and put a ward here on this corner because I want to know if this mid laner has warded a level 2 gank or even level 3 gank. If they haven't warded this side and the lane is killable, I'm going to run mid and probably kill them at level 2 or level 3. So this is like maybe a nice tech, just running out of base, putting a ward on this corner. So unfortunately, Jalen here gets spotted, and I actually told him here, like, just to go straight away, because this Syndra has used QE, she's level 2, and you're, again, a Conqueror stacking Belvev, you can actually just sprint at her here. Now, the problem with Kayn, yes, okay, Kayn might be here, but again, you're Belvev with Ari mid, and they could have pinched her here. Unfortunately, Jalen, like, goes a little bit too late, which is fine, but now we, like, kind of had this idea on our head that a mage, like, moving from mid lane, and we've got gap closing with Ghost, we should just, like, look to chase them down, and Kayn is not a threat at all, right? Dark Harvest Kayn, again, is not really a champion here. Now, remember, I thought Kayn started top side, so he actually shows bot here after going blue Grand Pools. How do we know he's gone blue Grand Pools? Because he's level 3 with blue buff. He can't really do anything else, right? So 3 camps top. So I tell Jalen to actually go for Raptors because maybe at the end of this he can get red buff as well. And you might be like, well, isn't red buff better to get here? I actually prefer him getting Raptors because he can like reset these and probably hit Raptors again and again. And you're going to see in this game that's exactly what happens. So putting those Raptors on the timer, I'd prefer him just to kill that as well. Putting Raptors on a timer here allows you to re-hit this camp again. I've heard this in my Discord recently. Feel free to join it, by the way. And you guys can ask me questions about jungling, send me screenshots of your games or whatever. whatever. I heard this recently, like, you don't want to clear camps because you reset the levels on them. Like, you level up the camps for the enemy jungler. What about if you get them again? Doesn't make sense to me. Just get the golden experience, create a loss for the enemy jungler. That's all you're thinking. Don't think, like, too hard like that. Maybe that might apply in, like, some games, but that's only going to be in, like, really, really high elos. Don't worry about it. So Kayn here, we know he's going to go topside, right? Because his topside is up. Jalen just sits in a brush, waits for Kayn to, like, actually move. Jalen's just going to W because it's important to, because the Kayn doesn't know we're here. So we guarantee a W land. And then we can Q in, auto attack, and then we just end up getting the kill, right? Gap close, nice, we get first blood. And this is where you're going to diff your games, okay? So Jalen here, we know that the Kayn, what camps has he done? 3 bot, nothing top. But his red buff and Krugs are up. He should also know this Kayn player that his red buff has gone, or even if he presses tab, he should be able to work out that Bel'Veth was 16 CS, or 15 in this game, because she didn't clear the Raptor right, has done her bot side into my Raptors, because Kayn checked, oh, my Raptors are gone. So his red buff, he should know this is up. So what do you guys think I'm getting at here? What do you guys think? Look at the game time. Look at this time for me, 340, okay? So after this kill, I actually tell Jalen to do crap. Now, most junglers here, what do you think they're going to do? Because you could do this, but I actually think it's really suboptimal. Most junglers here, right, even some in Challenger would do this, I guarantee it. Like, I remember, like, doing a VOD review for Chaos Rank 1 AUS, like, you know, multiple seasons. And I told him, like, this idea of just, like, hitting the enemy jungler on certain camps and knowing time is, like, off by heart. This is, like, kind of one of them, right? So if you recall here, you can hit the enemy jungler somewhere. So think about where Kayn started and stuff. Because, again, most people here would just go, like, blue, Grand Pools, and recall. But by that point as well, like, there's nothing stopping the enemy jungler from coming in here and taking, like, level 4 Raptors, right? It's annoying. Maybe level 4 Krugs, like, it's kind of kamikaze. But they can do it. And it's, like, the worst thing that can happen to you because these are the most valuable camps right now. And they're spawning very soon. Also think about Kayn's camps. What's valuable? Level 4 Gromp, level 4 Wolves. So I tell Jalen here to recall straight away because your topside means nothing. These are level 1 camps and it's not 230 in a game. This is 350 where we can hit the Kayn potentially here. So I tell him to recall and we immediately go bot side. And one more thing I just want to get into here, guys, as well, is like what actually challenger jungling is. Lots of people think like when I talk about the enemy jungler like this, like it's just about the 1v1 and it's like a style of play. It's really not, and I'm going to explain it to you here, like why you might think that, but also why it's so much more. So for sure in this game, right, like Jalen should actually just go bot here and gank this lane. In this like kind of live game, I was just really drilling into him this idea of thinking about the enemy jungler and adding another layer onto the cake of getting gold and experience. So here it is, mate. Here's the cake, all right? There's the big cake, okay? And they lead to golden experience. Actually, that's terrible. Let's undo this. Let's do this, and this is the cake, all right? And this is all part of the golden experience cake. So one layer. So most cakes are just two. Bro, I can't believe I'm doing this. Most cakes are 2 layers, yeah? It is, you think about your camps. And actually, let me just do this up here. Your camps, right? And then you think about laners. Like, you might think about your lanes and the enemy lanes for sure, right? And this might even, like, involve people thinking about, right, it's bot meta, I've got to go bot. Or I've got, like, you know, I need a protector Vayne in the early game. Or I've got a Darius top. Or we've got a LeBlanc mid. Let's play through mid. I'm not saying you're wrong, and you should definitely think about lanes, like the laners you have and the laners the enemy team has. And you should think about your camps, like you should sequence your camps when you're going to farm, you know, 100% like Gromp and Wolves. You want to sequence them in a way so you clear towards the side of the map you want to go towards, of course. We think about that, but these are just 2 forms of golden experience, but it's how, honestly, like probably at least like 95% of junglers think. For whatever reason, we don't need to get into in this video, and that's just from my experience as well of coaching like hundreds of players, right? All I'm doing is just adding 2 more layers to this juicy golden experience cake. Enemy camps. And instead of laners, or on top of laners, I should say, enemy jungler. I'm just adding 2 more forms of golden experience. You are just trying to think about what the best way of getting golden experience is out of these 4 like resources, if you will. This is why challenger jungling is a massive jump from Grandmaster jungling, Master jungling. It's the biggest jump right in terms of elo. This is simply why. So in this situation, I just told Jalen, like, after Crab to go to Wolves, and he eventually goes there. And the Kayn here, we know he's going to be top star, right? Because his red buff's up. Now, I don't know what this guy actually just did, but Jalen, after taking Wolves, he can take Grand Pride. And yes, bot lane was a free kill, and he should definitely go and kill the bot lane. But what you're going to see here is that when we actually isolate the enemy jungler, we can still kill this guy, right? Because this was our original plan. So I was really just trying to hit home here that this is stuff you can do if there's no kill bot. I just want him to get used to thinking about the jungle first, and then we can incorporate, obviously, like, killing free lanes, which we still do, like, after, you know, Red Raptors or Red Krugs Raptors, we're still thinking about killing lanes, really. Right? Unfortunately, here, Jalen just misses a free kill. He should just do exactly the same thing he did on Kane's red buff, just W first, right? So this would have been a free kill. And here as well, he can actually kind of like, what would you call it? Like, kind of leash this out and just make sure the aggro, you know, just draw it out and still do this because he's got, like, lane pressure, right? So he's got Pyke coming over and maybe Lucian. And Kane is, like, just not a champion. So he can actually, like, probably do this gromp. After this, we know that Kane's Raptors are spawning because we sit on a minimap. And we can actually just go through mid here and hit the Kane's Raptors. Again, like, our camps don't really matter. Again, there, maybe Jalen can do, like, his Raptors and Krugs. But why would you want to do that when Kane is doing Gromp and he's, like, 1 HP? So Jalen comes over here, takes his Raptors, and after he farms mid, it's just, like, an easy read, right? Just sit in the brush, and Jalen's going to knock him up and kill him. But yeah, he ends up killing the Kane here, and this is just, like, completely free, right? After this, do red buff, and maybe one more hit here, guys. Let's see if you guys can actually see the hit. So I tell Jalen just to recall straight away because Kane won't get here in time, which he won't. So recall after this, and honestly here, Jalen could easily have done this because I think Kane will run here. Wow, he actually doesn't. But one potential hit is to run to Kane's blue buff here, thinking, oh, this guy's going to be here. So we could always think about running like this, yeah? But what Jalen should actually do instead of doing red buff, I think we were talking about something maybe, is actually going to crab first. And then if he thinks that Kane is like not here and he's doing his blue or something, you could always wrap around. But again, at this point, guys, like 740, it's just like an easy play into Rift Herald, right? Red Krugs Raptors, hit level 6, go into Rift Herald, which is exactly what Jalen does. Kane's topside as well is still free. So if you guys think that you're so much stronger than the enemy jungler, which Jalen is, like, look at this. You can easily actually take his camps before hitting Rift Herald here. So just straight into Raptors, take his Krugs as well, because again, Rift Herald is so free because you have such a big lead. So just maximize that time on the map. If it's a bit more even, like let's just say both junglers were even, but you have 2 priors, of course you can start Rift Herald, right? You might have to consider like enemy support. But at this point, the game was super free. Unfortunately, like we kind of lost because everyone was, well, no one was really doing well apart from Jalen. But anyway, wanted to show you guys this early game as far as like timings go and actually what Challenger jungling is. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you did enjoy it, leave a like down below. And yeah, if you want Challenger coaching, you can DM me on Discord. Join the Discord. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't be shit. Bye.